by the crits, though. I think that ultimate single-handedly just saved the game for WK here as she blinks in and re-engages once again, causing absolute havoc on the side of Imperial Gaming, staying alive, killing the Ganesh, getting a trade for her life before she finally falls to the on her. She just 1v5 the entirety of Imperial Gaming and came off with. What do you think is going to be here next?
Oh, a big Thana ult and a big Serb blink. Here we are, a big fight on the middle Phoenix.
As the Ganesh ult goes down, Ratatasker also going down the backside. Crits are coming in left, right, and center on her. Giannis both getting kills individually. WK making the engage, but not benefiting them whatsoever as Kukulin now falls. All that's left is Chang'e and Thanatos.
The question is, will he possibly be successful this time? A lot of damage onto Anher and Thana.
That was a big amount of damage from the Anher autos and the Giannis too on the Thanatos. Thanatos falling for that. Anher uses his beads to try to stay alive, but the Kukulin still managed to get the kill. Vampire Gaming steals the Fire Giant. I think Giannis went behind it and stole it with a 2.
Wow.
And now it's all falling apart for WK as Heimdall has fallen to the Ratatasker now. The remnants of Red Team desperately trying to get something, scrounge some type of salvaging kill.
On the back end, Pilot went all in and unfortunately meets himself in front of 3 all alone. He gets taken out on this one. That's the team low. 2 are trying to back off, but 2 are going aggressive. Beezy takes that one. Kaizo immediately trades his life. Strap trying to get away from the Tiamat. I'm sorry, not going to happen. So a double kill will happen. And Batman now trying to get himself away, but this is a 6th level difference. He uses the slow from his ultimate, and he gets, no, not a triple, a quadra. Every kill this fight has gone his way. Just short of the Penta, as Papa will not let that happen.
To a ulted Fafnir. WK going back here, pulling the Pyro. What a huge chockle! WK will secure the Pyromancer, but a lot of damage is being put onto the Awilix. Sobek and Chaka getting focused in the backline here from WK. Fafnir trying to make some use of his ult before it goes down, but a huge Raijin ult in this corridor doing a lot of damage on the side of WK. Fafnir getting 2 to the wall by Anher. Looks like Fenrir might be able to get a kill on Jingwei in the back. RDO taking a lot of DPS in the Fire Giant pit here. Can anybody on the side of WK fall? They're all with 1 HP. Jingwei finally falls to Fenrir, and the Raijin will get the final hit on Fire Giant here, and here comes the dance.
The Frenzy was popped early to try to burn that off, but on her within execution threshold, uses the Beats Aegis to stay alive by the Thanatos. Thanatos getting impaled back. His impact on this fight completely moot now as he's running for his life. Guan Yu also at 1 HP. In the meantime, Kukulin running down the Ratatasker. And it seems as though Giannis has been sent, Ganesh has been sent through the Bifrost. On her now in the 1v1 with the Kukulin. Kukulin tanking those autos, managing to get the final blow on the Anher in the midst of this fight. Ganesh also falls. This fight seems to have been going very well for WK. The Heimdall stays alive at 1 HP from that entire fight. Giannis running for his life. Ratatasker managing to stay alive. Very re-engage off the Thanatos ultimate. It's going to be very effective as Chang'e gets impaled to the side walls. Anher jumps in looking for more aggression. Chang'e punishing him for stepping forward. However, the Giannis ult comes in, snipes to the Chang'e. Thana picking up on her on the backside. Now Vampire Gaming trying desperately to disengage in this fight.
Time into the Titan.
As they're starting to burn out Titan. Health falling very fast. The Ankh going through. Titan's still only a half HP. The crits are ringing true from the Anher, however. Thanatos will fall from the Anher. But Giannis getting the Chang'e. Kukulin returning the kill on the Anher. Heimdall still alive and barely an HP left. WK takes the set 2-1.
An absolute barn burner. Imperial
Giants League semifinal round. I'm joined here today with Illicit Sleet. If you want to say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
And today we have a pretty exciting matchup. We have the number 2 seed Broken Immortals versus the number 6 seed Mattie and the Baddies. So far from what we could see in the regular season, Broken Immortals went almost undefeated in the regular season. Their only loss being to the current number 1 seed WK. And since they're on opposite sides of the roster here, maybe they might run into each other in the finals here. But they're going up against Mattie and the Baddies, who through the regular season wasn't as impressive as some of the other teams, but beat the number 3 seed to get to the semifinals. So clearly they've shown that they have some backbone, might be on the upswing here later on as the season's been going on.
For sure, it looks like Mattie and the Baddies are on a little bit of an improvement streak here, as they have taken out that number 3 seed and now are going on to take out the number 2 seed.
That would be a really good underdog story. The bottom seed in the bracket climbing through, taking out every team they're going up against to get to the finals. But first off, we have to focus on this game as we're getting to game number 1, picks and bans. What are you really expecting to see here from the traditional kind of meta that's been forming currently in the current patch?
I'm expecting to see a Chiron either picked or banned. I'm expecting to see Athena picked or banned, Tiamat as in the same boat there. And with Persephone and Loki being introduced this patch, I expect to see either them picked or banned this game here.
It would be pretty exciting to see a Persephone played here, as we haven't really got to see her in close to 2 or so months now. She got reworked and put back into the game, but due to the complete changing of her kit and so then some bug issues afterwards, she kind of has been kept on the sidelines from a lot of competitive play. She's finally been released onto the battleground to fight against other people here, and hopefully we'll end up seeing if she can harvest some wins for this team. But,
for sure.
Currently, we see Athena and Ratatasker banned out, both with the global, semi-global ultimates. It is a bigger map here in season 7, or sorry, season 7 or 8. Brain 8. Thank you. I can count. It's fine. I've been only playing this game for a few, 7 years. It doesn't matter. But as we get through here, what are you expecting to really see ban-wise, since we've already not seen the main meta picks with the Chiron, Tiamat, Persephone, Loki? That's not being banned here. So are you expecting to see them get picked, or are you thinking they might stay away from those currently?
I think that they most likely, that Persephone, if it doesn't get banned, is probably going to get picked. The Ratatasker ban is really confusing to me. It almost seems like a comfort pick for the Broken Immortals that Mattie and the Baddies know of.
Yeah, that might have just been a scouting report that they've seen that they've played it a lot or have had really good games on it, so they just want to take it away, keep them off their comfort picks, seeing if they can stretch out the Broken Immortals roster to see if their god pool can be a bit shallower than theirs. As we see Gilgamesh being banned, he's since release been really at the top of the meta currently. What are some of the reasons that really has put him in that top spot that he's been holding on to for so long after so many nerfs?
He has this insane burst damage combined with the ability to lock down whoever he's targeting. So with the Winds of Shamash, they are just unable to get away from Gilgamesh unless they have some sort of CC immunity or slow immunity to get out of the Winds of Shamash.
Yeah, slow is definitely not fun when you're trying to run away from a big, tall man kicking you into walls. As we see Discordia being banned by Broken Immortals, another odd ban. She hasn't really been top of the meta. She's never really fallen off, but this is probably another comfort pick, I would assume. Thoughts?
That's my only thought, possibly, is that it's a comfort pick for Mattie and the Baddies. It's just not a very common pick to see either picked or banned in these draft phases.
And hopefully we can see another meta ban. Yep, there we go. Tiamat being banned by Mattie and Baddies. Not all hope is lost. It's not going to be wild with really top tier picks quite yet. There are still a lot available, like the Chiron that we mentioned, the Persephone, but Tiamat getting cut there from the lot. And here we actually do see the Persephone being hovered, and hopefully it'll be picked. I don't see any reason why not. There it goes. It gets locked in. Persephone, she has not been in the spotlight, again, because she hasn't been in competitive play. What are her new strengths and her new weaknesses that has come with her new rework that she got?
Well, one of her main weaknesses now is that she doesn't really have that much of a passive anymore. It's really just kind of useless in a way. It's really not just useful in a good team fight scenario.
Yeah,
But
no longer being able to really cast on enemy players. Instead, you just kind of have to set up for your next life type of deal.
For sure. And her strengths now are that she has this unbearable lane pressure with the plants that just completely, like, full clear wave in half a second.
Those things are the source of my nightmares at times with the way they target now. You can't just easily dodge them. They have a complete circle they can bite you from, and they can bite you numerous times if you stay inside of them. As we see Giannis being picked up by Mattie and the Baddies along with Cupid. So these picks were very high tier at the start of the season, but Cupid especially has kind of fallen off. Giannis has stayed pretty consistently strong depending on who's playing him. What do you think are the reasons behind top picking these two characters?
Well, Giannis is a very safe pick that you can really get away with top picking and without really being punished for it. Cupid, however, is very punishable, and he just doesn't do as much damage as he used to. Now that crit has kind of gone away, and now that we have ability-based builds, things like these on hers and Chirons now kind of just run this meta, and I don't think Cupid does well into either.
Yeah, but maybe that just might be a comfort pick. Maybe the Mattie and the Baddies ADC is really confident in his Cupid play. As we see on her being actually locked in by Broken Immortals here. That was kind of the matchup when Cupid was in his prime, was the Cupid v on her. On her, of course, with the CC immune ult, can kind of just immune himself from the fields of love and walk out of there and continue fighting. Kakolin, been reigning supreme in the solo lane. Can't say enough. He's always been top tier since the start of the season. He's been top tier since before the season. And even though he's gotten some nerfs kind of tossed his way, nothing enough that's really brought him down to a point where he's not being prioritized anymore. As we see with Sun Wukong being hovered by Mattie and the Baddies.
Yeah, the Sun Wukong into the Kakulin, I'm not sure if I like that matchup compared to the Arthur matchup, due to the fact that when Sun Wukong, his safety and his ultimate is getting that heal off, and the Kakulin's Spear of Mortal Pain giving 50% anti-heal every time he hits you with it, it's just really hard to get that safety and that heal off.
Yeah, and Wukong currently, I mean, he's never really fallen off of the meta. It's similar to Kakolin, but not as strong. Kakolin hasn't fallen on the meta because he's been top of the meta. Wukong hasn't fallen on the meta because he's really good at just staying neutral for the most part. He's normally seen as a very safe god with his 72 transformations. He can get out of situations. He can go up into his cloud and just kind of sit there and regen some health. But as you mentioned, the anti-heal from Spear of Mortal Pain could potentially put him in some dangerous positions if he's not careful when he uses his ultimate. As the second phase of ban starts coming through, we see Ymir being banned by Mattie and the Baddies, and Nemesis being banned by Broken Immortals. Nemesis is another one of those characters that was pretty top tier at the start of the year and has fallen off since. What are some of the reasons for her downfall, do you think?
Just the need for different types of junglers into the meta. We no longer really these auto attack junglers that are focused on dashes and things, just they get countered by a lot of things, especially with the high CC guardians that are in the meta right now. With the Emirs and Sobeks in the meta, they just kind of get they can't get their abilities off to actually get a kill because it's too slow to actually get a kill off that.
You know, the Nemesis's main way of staying alive with her shield, it gets canceled by any hard CC, and like you said, like the Sobek Ymir, and a lot of just general team comps currently offer a lot of CC that can eliminate that from the Nemesis. As we see the last two bans coming out, the Sobek that we had previously mentioned being pretty high up in the support tier list, and Yamoja. Yamoja's been an interesting spot. She hasn't exactly been, top picked like she was previously, but she hasn't been completely ignored. She still definitely has a niche. I think that might just have to do with the play style you have to have around a Yamoja.
I'd have to agree with you. I feel like Yamoja is a very player-dependent god. If you are very good at playing her, then she is possibly one of the best gods in the game. On the other hand, if you're just aren't at that level with her, she's kind of just another backline support that just doesn't do as much as the others if you're not good with her.
Yeah, and I know that currently the aggressive supports are where a lot of players have been leaning towards with the current season. And Robin being picked by Mattie and the Baddies. So far, we've seen a lot of safety kind of coming out from Mattie and the Baddies. The Giannis having his mobility, Robin having a lot of CC immunity, Wukong having his cloud. What are you really thinking that Mattie and the Baddies is going for here, just looking at the team comp so far?
So with the Janus and the Wukong Ravana, it seems like we're looking at a dive comp out of Mattie and the Baddies to ult the Janus ult into the backline and then just fight the backline there.
So we're maybe thinking getting the Cupid in either with a portal, it's kind of flanking around, dropping the Fields of Love, as that's kind of the go button for everyone else to go in, along with the Giannis and Raven.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I think that's a good plan. I'm personally fond of getting in there and brawling with whoever I might come across in the game. So I'm totally down for full dive comps. As we see Camazotz, another he's very strong in those right hands. If you play him aggressively, which he's really good at, he's very strong. But I have some concerns that he might not be able to stick onto the Giannis as some other junglers might be able to.
Yeah, with this Giannis mobility, if that Giannis is able to get through a portal, he'll be out no matter what against this Camazotz. While on the other hand, he also has the ability to burst down Janus before he can even get through the portal.
That is true. It's going to be kind of seeing who has the faster reaction speeds here, as we see Xing Chen finishing off the 5-man team for Broken Immortals. So currently with the Broken Immortals, what they have is strong lane pressure from what I'm gathering. The Kukulkan's a lane bully, Anher's a lane bully, Persephone's, as you said, a lane bully. What do you think their plan is to transition from the early pressure they're going to get just innately by their picks?
Well, with the pressure they have from their picks, they're probably going to be looking for buff invades, probably on the red and purple, most likely, but also possibly on the blue as well, because since this Wukong is so dependent on the blue buff to actually stay in lane.
Yes, definitely. That's a breaking thought here, because there's a Scylla being hovered, and I am suddenly terrified that we're going to have some weird amalgamation of like maybe a Raven support Giannis jungle Scylla mid going on here. Okay, hey, we're good. It's a Cerberus. We can calm down. There's no chaos quite yet happening, and just in picks bans. Cerberus rounding out Mattie and the Baddies. I think that pick goes along with what you said previously with the full dive comp. If you have to put the early pressure buff invade playstyle that Broken Immortals seems to be drafting for against the survive the late game, look to full dive in team fights for Mattie and the Baddies, who are you really leaning towards having the advantage here?
I think if Mattie and the Baddies can make it to about the 30-minute mark, I think they'll have a good shot at winning this game. But if Broken Immortals gets off to a good start, I think that team comp's going to be so hard to actually stop once they start going.
I'm inclined to agree with you, though. I love full dive team comps. I do think that just the pure pressure that Broken Immortals has drafted here is going to be really hard to deal with. But that's just our hypotheses for how this game is going to go. But to actually break down the game as we go into it, we have Supersonic Blur and Bray GG.
Well, thank you very much. Over on the desk, Broken Immortals versus Mattie and the Baddies, like they mentioned over on the desk. Mattie and the Baddies currently on a win streak and looking to punch above their weight. With me is Bray GG to break this one down. And the one thing I can remember from the last set of Mattie and the Baddies is they were very hesitant on pulling objectives. And against Broken Immortals comp, which looks like they can just do objectives whenever the hell they like, that's got me a little concerned here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with this on her, I'm definitely expecting some early game rotations onto this Gold Fury, onto the Scorpion even. Just have all of that pressure that they can get with this early game comp that they've drafted so far.
Well, hopefully they're going to be able to do a good bit of work with this. As we can see, Ryzen looking for that Mask 2 start here. We've seen a little bit more coming out from solo laners. With the fact that this is a huge lane, I thought that the Bluestone would still be just the best way to go. Why are we seeing more and more of this?
Well, I mean, it's simply just the flat power that you can get for just spending 1,200 gold, 40 physical power, 70 magical power, but we're focusing on that physical power side for this Kukulkan, and most solo laners are really preferring just having that flat power, like I was saying, and being able to really bully their lane super early. So we're going to have to see how that plays out against the Bluestone, which is the more opted start.
Looks like there's a little bit of argy-bargy going on in the duo lane. We saw Phoenix go ahead and jump on in. Inside, gone a little lower, and with the option that they've gone for here with the, that's the Hunter's Cowl, or Leather Cowl, to start things off. Again, like the Death said, they look like they really want to try and get towards this team fight stage. But that's going to hit them pretty hard early on here.
Yeah, for sure. And you can kind of see it as we're looking at the lane so far. The Anher and the Jing Chen 1 going to be able to reduce that auto attack damage onto that Cupid, and the pressure's working for them here as they're able to get this XP here.
Hopefully it works out well for them, like you said. That early pressure, we heard on the desk that they really want to try and see Broken Immortals go for this early kind of pressure here. Is there anywhere in particular that they want to put this pressure more than anywhere else?
I mean, honestly, looking at these roles right now, a little bit of a fight breaking out over in duo. Cerberus getting low, but I would say currently duo is going to be somewhere that you have to look at in this early game, as we've been mentioning. But both of these mids are some characters that can, if they get ahead, get a very, very good lead and start to get a lot of damage numbers quickly.
And that's why I was asking, is it better to say this on her and look at this duo lane, which has got a lot of pressure already? Do you want to double down on that? Or maybe we see Broken Immortals move out and say, we got some early pressure there, on her's going to be fine. Can we look to do that into the mid lane, especially with this Persephone, the god that we have not been able to have the luxury of seeing since the rework. And now with that rework coming in, yes, the ult's a little worse, but the lane pressure that you can put out with those plants is second to very, very few.
Oh, I absolutely agree, especially with that large circle that the plants give you now. It's sort of able to just take over the entire lane if you have a lot of those plants really stacked up. And not to mention, just taking over to level 5 now, that ultimate is a great tool for not only zoning, but for locking down enemies very nicely.
And hopefully we're going to be able to see some of that coming on through. And I think for Broken Immortals, that's going to be really nice. Is Mattie and the Baddies have this team fight kind of comp where they want to be grouped, they want to have this nice team synergy where they want to pick a lot, like almost just pick one person and blow them up. But if Gigafoot Zero is just going to say, alright, from downtown, all of you here can now not move within like a 60-foot radius, then that's going to cause a huge amount of problems. The Fields of Love's not going to be as damning towards them, and Flux is going to be able to dive into this backline quite effectively. But look at him, Mattie and the Baddies are the ones starting off this engagement. Might ends up taking down the first blood here. That's a good look for them. Through Space and Time was fired as well, and Snack makes their way on over. Mattie and the Baddies trying to turn things around here in the duo lane.
Yeah, it was a great rotation there from Ravana. Came over there, used his ultimate, the Mystic Rush. Cerberus able to secure the kill onto that Jing Chen. And that's going to be very helpful for Mattie and the Baddies, because we were still talking about that sort of early pressure lane that Anher and Jing Chen are going to give you. Giving that pressure back a little bit to your duo lane can even the things out. And looks like they're doing that, doing a good job of that.
They certainly are not doing too bad of a job. I'm just getting told we are going to have to throw just to a short, quick break here. We do have a small technical difficulty we need to sort out. So we're going to go ahead and get it to a break, but don't go anywhere. You will not miss any of the action.
Empiric wants to just end it now, sieging mid-Phoenix.
It looks like they're going to do a 5-man Chang'e, putting a stop to their siege. The Beats is coming out from the Anher. Chang'e getting returned, hit by
We are
the crits,
echoing.
though.
Myself and Bray
I
are
think
echoing.
that ultimate
We don't know where from,
single-handedly just
but we
saved the
need to
game
do
for
that.
W Key here as she blinks in and re-engages once again.
we are not muted on
causing
stream.
absolute havoc on the side of Empiric Gaming, staying alive, killing the Ganesh, getting a trade for her life before she finally falls to the Anher. She just 1v5 the entirety of Empiric Gaming and came off with. What do you think is going to do here next?
Oh, a big Thana ult and a big Serb blink. Here we are, a big fight on the middle Phoenix.
as the Ganesha goes down. Ratashgirl also going down the backside. Crits are coming in left, right, and center on her. Giannis both getting kills individually. WK making the engage, but not benefiting them whatsoever as Kukulin now falls.
Talking.
Empiric wants to just end it now. Sieging mid Phoenix.
It looks like they're going to do a
Can be.
Yeah, we can try. Empiric wants to just end it now.
All right, well, apologies for the slight audio and technical difficulties here. We are trying to work through them, as I'm sure you can see and hear. Hopefully, fingers crossed, things get on with that. But when we work through those, we are going to see a little bit more action here from Mattie and the Baddies. Second through space and time comes on over. As Ryzen gets soloed out there. Looks like the rest of the team won't be needed or necessary, but nice to have the backup there. And I like what we're seeing here from Mattie and the Baddies. They are the ones trying to take the initiative here.
Yeah, like you said, I'm loving the fact that they are taking initiative, making those rotations early, and honestly, they're kind of playing the way that Broken Immortals should be playing, taking on that early pressure, getting those rotations, and hey, it's working pretty well for those side lanes right now.
And if they can play out of Pharaoh EXE at this point, that's going to be absolutely massive for them. Ryzen, like we mentioned, with this mask build, looks like they want to just bully out the lane, and they've not had that kind of success to be able to do so. So now, with Mattie and the Baddies up now, about 1,000 gold, this is a good look for them. But again, like the last time we saw them, they were very hesitant to start pulling any kind of objectives. But look where Pharaoh is right now. They might be looking for a bit of an invade here. It's a 2v2. Tiger Stun straight on in. In fact, it's actually more than a 2v2 because the support's going to be rotating on in. That's Flux going ahead and getting the Flux out of there. Actually coming through with the grasp of death from downtown. Both mid laners make the rotation. Not Arceus ends up picking up inside on the left, which means that Mattie and the Baddies get that return on the right. And it looks like it's reasonable play here for Broken Immortals to find themselves some kind of pressure point to push.
Yeah, honestly, it looked like a pretty good fight there for Mattie and the Baddies at the first hand. It looked like the 2v2 at first, and then they had another man coming from the back, but unfortunately not able to get the finishing blow on to the Camazotz. He was able to use the Bat Out of Hell, was able to get out of that. On the other side, though, Broken Immortals were able to pick up a kill in that duo lane.
And it's both the supports who get the kill in the duo lane. How unfair for those poor, unfortunate hunters. Hunters need kills too, you know. They only have an entire wave to farm for themselves and jungle buffs. Won't someone think of the hunters?
Won't someone think of the guys who can just hold down left click and they're able to get away with it all game? Just stay in their lane till level 20.
Though.
Honestly.
It hurts. Alright? We have to aim at everything. Well, they do. I'm not one of them. I'm a filthy dumb solo laner, not an ADC player. But look at this. First time through. Paid up dividends, so might be seeing that come out again. Nice impale and perfectly placed here from Not Arceus to go ahead and pick up the kill again. Are you kidding me? Come on, that's just rude.
Honestly, at this point, it should just be Jing Chen ADC on her support, seeing how he's just getting these easy last hits, especially with the blue boots that he's picked up, opting for that extra power. Kind of makes sense, you know, why he's picking up those last hits. But a really great gank over there for that Jing Chen, waited for the Cupid dash, and it paid off for him.
It really did. And I love the fact as well that Narcissus doesn't beeline towards the Cupid. He goes where the Cupid will go when he dashes. So the Cupid doesn't have an option. It's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't in that spot, as Pharaoh again looking to start bullying out, puts Flux incredibly low. And this is one thing that Pharaoh has done reasonably well, is they are very comfortable diving reasonably deep to go for kills and buy the rest of the team some space, but getting some support from the rest of the team through space and time comes through as Broken Immortals just go ahead and back this one off. Fields of Love has been used, and that also grabbed the beads. No ultimate available for Phoenix, so we'll have to just disengage, as Mattie and the Baddies not as successful as the support rotation through from Broken Immortals. But 2 for 2 is tied up here at 10.5 minutes, and they still have that 1,000 gold lead or so. What are Mattie and the Baddies looking to try and do right now to extend this?
Right now, realistically, I think, you know, Pharaoh has about a 1.5 level lead so far. So looking to get him to maybe look to proxy and then shoot over there to mid, shoot over there to where that Gold Fury is, put some pressure on that. I think that Mattie and the Baddies could for sure use that right now.
He certainly could, as we saw Solar Shield just earlier go ahead and grab that, as that was on her jump on in, but gets impaled away, so cannot be affected by the gas and breath. Big stun, and Stygian Torment forces out the Desert's Fury. It's a full-on wall sighting here in the duo lane. Blink for the forward, Mystic Rush gets hit by the Disperser, will not find enough damage. Meanwhile, inside is low. Flux ends up falling to Snack Burrito, who makes the rotation. Health bars are getting low as more and more members start to pile on in here. Then all in all ends with just a 1 for none.
Yeah, and I mean, on the side of Mattie and the Baddies, the ADC, this Cupid and Cerberus, have to be feeling so lucky because they got out with like 1 HP each. And honestly, that engagement did not look very good at first, but luckily they were able to get that kill on Camazotz, and everybody was able to make it out of their A-OK.
You say, okay, a few health bars are a little lower than I think we wanted, as now with beads forced. Did you miss that heart bomb? You can't be missing that kind of heart bomb. Now Phoenix is still going to fall, but it's not going to look as nice on the montage. And either way, Inside comes away with a kill, and I love seeing this from Mattie. They've kind of just decided that, hey, Phoenix is never going to have the all beads available. Let's just abuse it.
Yeah, and I mean, whenever you have a pick like Cerberus, and even the enemy team has a pick like a Jing Chen, you have abilities that are going to be able to pull those beads. And I mean, hey, it is working perfectly. And Cupid as well, his ult will also do a good job of pulling the beads from this on her. Looks like a brawl going out over here in Fire Giant.
It is. Broken Immortals do steal away that first objective on the right-hand side. Now looking to try and chase away some more kills. Flux will pay back Pharaoh EXE and some more for the last time they scuffled. Now the Yanis as well, running further away from the rest of their team to make sure they get out, will end up falling 2 for 0. Broken Immortals surge themselves back on in, cut that lead pretty much in half, in fact decimating it entirely. And that also now means that Pyromancer and Fire Giant are on the table, as both of the Greater Scorpions have now fallen. And we're hitting that sort of 13-minute mark where usually teams are going to start hovering around the Gold Fury sort of objective. Do either one of these two teams have or an edge when it comes to those kind of sort of dances?
Looking at both of the team comps right now, I'm kind of thinking what's really going to be able to secure these objectives. And realistically, the biggest one that I see so far is going to be this through space and time for Giannis, because I think it would be a good secure because he's able to throw out his ult, but there's on her going to be killed here in the duo lane with the Fields of Love. But
That's got to be like gold, right? Like I'm looking at that and it's just like that's going straight to gold Fury. If I'm on Mattie and the Baddies, we might be seeing that happening now, but where are the other members? It's just the duo lane there right now, and Broken Immortals know it's happening. They're already surging faster than Maddie's were.
yeah, and it looks like the Jing Chen over here is going to be able to pull them off of it.
That's a big grasp of death, forces 2 sets of beads, and this also means that the rest of Broken Immortals are going to go ahead and go on an engagement here. Stitch Torment used the Bat Out of Hell to chase a little bit further. Will get their own beads forced after getting rooted out by the Ravan there, and because of that, Broken Immortals in a could have been 4v5 situation just show up and force out members from Mattie and the Baddies. Now we're even seeing the solo lane make the rotation over here, and it's the Broken Immortals starting up. Through space and time comes on through to try and disengage it, but it's just not going to happen. More members from Broken Immortals are here, and they will happily pick this up. They take down that first Gold Fury for practically free.
Yeah, and Giannis is now looking to retreat here on her, jumping over the wall, looking to chase him, but he's going to be able to portal out. You know, Broken Immortals, a very, very good job on that objective. As you mentioned, Mattie and the Baddies are kind of hesitant when it looked to pulling objectives, and I mean, right there was almost like a prime example of that. A great job by the Jing Chen for sure for pushing him off. But the Pyromancer...
He's gonna do it to him. He steals away the Pyromancer and forces Pharaoh up on into the ultimate. It's a good look. Round the back, though, is the Persephone looking to potentially try and chase, but will not go ahead and throw any further for that. They've already done enough. They're already making a mark here. 4 to 5 reads the scoreline, but that does not tell the tale of this tape as Broken Immortals now find themselves up in this gold lead for probably the first time here, despite being... Oh, no, they're not tower. Solo tower for solo tower, so that's even. And now it's starting to make a little bit more sense as to why we saw Ryzen make that first rotation earlier.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to what I was saying, with the objectives so far, it has just not been very fortunate to Mattie and the Baddies. Obviously, seeing that Pyromancer unfortunately stolen away. But I mean, realistically, this is always just the early game. And I mean, it's only a 1,500 gold lead. So I think we aren't, even though, you know, a few little bad things here and there, this game's still looking pretty good.
It is, and remember what the desk was saying, that Mattie and the Baddies, they can quite happily and comfortably sit till around that 25 to 27 minute mark where they can really start just all focusing on grouping up and taking those engagements. That's how they won their last set, is they just ended up drawing the game out long enough to where Pharaoh's able to start causing a lot of trouble and getting into the backline really deep, buying space for the rest of the team. And if they have been able to start tightening up that that sort of objective focused mentality, then maybe that this is going to be something that they can work with. As mid lane, we're seeing Broken Immortals look to try and pressure this on out. They got 3 members here. This won't be too bad of a look for them. They know where at least 2 members of Mattie and the Baddies are, so they're going to trade mid tower tier 1 for duo lane tier 1, and I've got to think that favors out the mid lane. That's a big loss for the Mattie and the Baddies here.
Yeah, and whenever you lose that mid lane tier 1, it really feels like it opens up the jungle on each side, as it looks like there might be a little bit of a scuffle here near this Gold Fury.
There is going to be one. Both solo laners are going to be making the rotation. Big Stygian Torment, but not Arctus. Ends up picking up the first kill of this engagement. Endside goes down. No beads, no Aegis, no life at this point. The Giannis is slipping away wherever they can, but leaving more members of Mattie and the Baddies off to fend for themselves. They are just about able to get away thanks to that through space and time portal created. But look at the health bars. They just cannot weather this storm. Another great portal buys a little bit more time, but members from Mattie and the Baddies have just been chased so far away that it's left from the Broken Immortals to do whatever it is they please. No Fury available for them though, so I guess the thing I'm looking at is, why did that fight even take place? Like, what were they fighting for?
Yeah, I mean, the Fury simply just wasn't up over there, and it kind of just seemed like a fight just broke out at the Oracles there, but obviously favoring Immortals there, and that's kind of what they want.
Alright, Mike is going to go ahead and be able to get away from there. Breaks off towards mid. I thought they were going to go ahead and try and get back towards the solo lane where they had been pinged out. But no, Mike will be able to get back towards the rest of the team. And that was pretty good work from Snack Burrito. I was concerned that this was just going to spill into 2-3 picks for Broken Immortals, mid-tier 2 falls, and then from there it's go back to base and just set up for an insane Primal Fury coming up. But thanks to that through space and time and those portals, Snack Burrito has done a fantastic job repositioning and maneuvering the team in these last couple of engagements.
Yeah, I absolutely love the fact that kind of just the way that he's been using his ultimate the entire game. Like, it's obvious that he's not afraid to throw that thing out there, and looks like this duo lane tier 1 tower gonna be some fighting over here.
Certainly is. Space and time not quite on the mark. Well, and Raging Steel comes out to throw the keeper further away. Now it's the Ravon versus the Ono. Beats and Aegis's. Not sure the requirement was that steep at this point. Some Wukong's around the back, keeping Persephone busy. But look how much damage Arceus is just absorbing at this point. Now with Spear of Mortal Pain and a Barb, takes down Snack Burrito. Pharaoh cannot keep this going any further with all 5 members healthy. I have no idea how it was that not Arceus was able to just weather so much damage and buy so much time there.
Yeah, and Ryzen was just able to get in that backline, able to use his Spear of the Mortal Pain, and able to pick up a kill on the Giannis on the opposite side, and that's a free Fury for them.
And look at this! Arceus has taken absolutely no damage at all. Like, I know they've got a Stone of Binding and they've got the Sovereignty, but I don't think that they had that much damage or that much tankiness going into this. Inside could have been pelting autos in here. But look at this, Broken Immortals are not satisfied with that look. They're going to go ahead and look to try and take away the fire giant. But Mattie and the Baddies coming and stealing Solar's shield, doing what they can to keep themselves in this game. Sun Wukong will be able to go ahead and Nox Form out to safety, but it's not safe enough. Blinks to chase them down. Pancake flip back in place, and Phoenix will pick up Pharaoh quite aptly in this instance. 2 for nothing, but Fire Giant stolen away. Broken Immortals are not happy about this one. They will try and brute force down this tier 2, but I'm not sure that's really the play they want to go and make. Now we're seeing just how much damage the Xing Ching is taking, and it is a lot. Snack Burrito answers that one. Finally, the tier 2 falls, but Mattie and the Baddies hold themselves in, fighting back tooth and claw and nail.
Yeah, and I mean, for a second there, it looked like Broken Immortals, that, you know, they had their entire team around that fire. They looked like a death ball unit, but Mattie and the Baddies were able to just get that hand in there. I know Ravana ulted over, landed on the fire, and I mean, it could have went a lot worse for Mattie and the Baddies had that fire giant gone the way of Broken Immortals and gotten more tower shred and more tankier along the way.
Really, really great work there from Mattie and the Baddies. I think Gigafoot ulted the Fire Giant. I don't know whether it was in an attempt to try and lock in Solar Shield and Pharaoh to make them panic, but I think that if they were planning to hit the Titan or hit the Fire Giant, Grasp of Death doesn't do damage to it. It's like when you see similar thing with with the Wild Hunt from Kernanos. That doesn't do damage to minions or things like that. It's great for stopping enemies hitting it, but unfortunately, just an awkward spot. But Broken Immortals still finding themselves up 4,000 gold here. And with that tier 2 tower down, it does expose a Phoenix. Mattie and the Baddies, though, they've been trying to sort of hold on here, and this Fire Giant will help, but it still feels like Broken Immortals are just that little step ahead of them here in these team fights.
Yeah, and I absolutely have to give props to the front line of Broken Immortals here. I mean, like you said, it looks like they're not even taking any damage, and I think the Cucullin, he is even under that category as well, as now looks like some fighting gonna go on under this tier 2 tower in mid.
Well, for the first time, I think this entire game, we've seen someone trying to take down a tier 2 with minions actually in place. Grasp of Death does a good bit of damage. Mattie and the Baddies will happily just give this one up. Now they're just going to see a huge dive here. There comes the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, and Stygian Torment's coming through. Stack Burrito just from the side, blindside Flux, and that takes him down. Now we're just going to see more members fall. An overstep here from Broken Immortals. I mean, they lose too. Might is still kicking at this point. Ryzen cannot afford to stick around. As you actually see more just spearheading further forward from Mattie and the Baddies. They don't hold the tier 2, but they do not let anyone cross that line any further.
That is definitely the through space and time that you want to see when the enemy team is trying to push up on your middle Phoenix. What a great job of just, oh my gosh, the damage numbers. It's amazing to see that will come out, and Mattie and the Baddies still not worried too much about that mid Phoenix after that one.
Certainly not, and this is going to give them a nice little bit of time here to just try and recuperate and get on into things. You can see that level 17 had already been hit by Arceus for quite a while, but now we're going to see that from Maya as well, so Compassion likely going to be online here, and level 20s also means that some of those relics are going to be starting to be upgraded. Bluestone Brooch here for Wukong. Do we expect Ryzen to go also with that upgraded Bluestone, or are they selling that off?
I mean, recently I haven't really seen the solo lane selling that, so I think that he probably will go into that Brooch, considering how strong that the passive on that is, and he's been doing a lot of damage so far, so I wouldn't see any reason that he wouldn't. Sun Wukong getting impaled there.
Little bit of a miscommunication there from Mattie and the Baddies, throwing out through space and time. That's 2 ultimates down now for this next Fury. Another Primal Fury, so not the best, but not the worst either. Maybe this one will help Broken Immortals secure that second Fire Giant, which is soon to respawn, as it has fallen off Mattie and the Baddies here. And again, it feels like these kind of engagements, Mattie and the Baddies have always been the ones who respond to the engagements, and sometimes their response has been amazing. See the last fight at their Phoenix. But it feels more like it's Broken Immortals being punished for a misstep, rather than Mattie and the Baddies coming and starting a fight to begin with.
Yeah, and I mean, you're completely right saying that, because that's really what it has been. It's been Broken Immortals being the ones starting the Fury. It's been Broken Immortals being the ones starting the Fire Giant. So Mattie and the Baddies have sort of had to try and stay around it and watch and see what's going to happen to those objectives. Speaking of objectives, something over here at the Fire Pit.
I've got a little bit of a dance as we are looking to vie for position over that. The QQ lane doing a good bit of damage here and a good job zoning away. But all 5 members from Mattie and the Baddies are around. There's a little bit of healing available to them in the form of the Cupid Love Hearts, but same cannot be said for the Broken Immortals. They're just trying to bait in and get whatever cooldowns they can beat. Still down for Pharaoh. It's about the only thing they can really look at right now. They will grab themselves a Pyro while they wait, which isn't too bad. And I'm glad to see that Mattie and the Baddies do not try and steal that away. It's only Pyro. But look at this. They're just trying, at this point, Broken Immortals are putting pressure on whoever they can, and Might eats about 60% of his health there. And now it's also Wukong. They're just picking apart whoever shows up.
Yeah, and Broken Immortals now the ones sort of pushing Mattie and the Baddies away. And like we said, Broken Immortals going to be the ones here starting up this Fire Giant. Looks like Cuculling going to be up there to zone them away. And this fire is going to fall to Broken Immortals.
I like that Grasp of Death this time as more of a zone duty. Through space and time does clip Flux, but Fire Giant in the hands of Broken Immortals means that they can now spearhead wherever they do intend to go. Minion waves not quite in their favor, especially not in the mid lane, but side lanes aren't looking too bad. But Broken Immortals now, they've got 4 minutes on the clock and ticking down to do something with this Fire Giant. Siege-wise, though, they're just looking to try and fight here. So they're looking to put a Spear of Mortal Pain in, but no more follow-up from the rest of Broken Immortals. And I guess that now brings us to the Siege portion of discussion. How does it look for Mattie and the Baddies on defense here, and how do Broken Immortals look on offense?
Well, obviously that Fields of Love is going to be a crucial part of these Phoenix defenses, but Jing Chen is just gonna say, no, you're not gonna use that ultimate in this team fight because you're dead, and now Broken Immortals are gonna start pushing up to this left Phoenix.
And with that, they got themselves a reasonable opportunity. Decision Torment pulls some members back in. Bad out of hell is low. Ryzen finds Snack Burrito, and that's good. Phoenix takes down Solar Shield on 1 HP, and that keeps them ticking on in this game. 3 members down. It's only the front line left. Might not be around much longer at this rate. Phoenix picks up a double kill. The Wukong jumps back on in, tries to ox him away, but Gigafoot Zero puts their Gigafoot down and says that's a deicide. 1 Phoenix down, 1 Titan to go. Mattie and the Baddies are going to end up losing game 1 here. Broken Immortals, you mentioned the Cupid was going to be a problem, so the easiest way to take the siege, just wipe him off the face of the earth and then storm through the base. In under 30 minutes, Broken Immortals break Mattie and the Baddies.
Oh yeah, it was like Jing Chen just read my mind right there. He said, oh, you said Cupid might be a problem on this defense? Here, I got you. I'll take him out for you. And as we saw, that left Phoenix went down. They got a deicide in a great way to end the game.
Absolutely phenomenal work coming through from this team. It wasn't so much the kind of you look at the draft and like the desk said, they were thinking lots of buff invades, lots of super early aggression and pressure. We didn't necessarily see that, but what we did see was well thought out, meticulated play. They were baiting members in continuously. We've got Might low, that's good enough for us. Now we can go back to Fire Giant. They overstepped a couple of times and had a few issues, but all in all, they still come out with a dub.
Yeah, and just looking at this details screen so far, you have to point out the fact that this is a top damage Jing Chen, not only on his team, but in the entire game. So that shows the amount of impact that this pick had for Broken Immortals.
All right, I take it back. The Jing Chen MVP, I don't even think we need to throw it to the desk for this one, but we're gonna anyway, as they go ahead and break down Broken Immortals' victory in Game 1.
You Blur, thank you, GG. But Not Arceus understands the assignment. We said aggression, play, get in there, look for whatever you can, be on them, make sure they have no room to breathe. And Not Arceus was in there on cooldown, mostly on the Cupid, for better or for worse, almost that entire game. And that's shown in the top player damage in the entire lobby there. I don't think there was an accurate word that can describe my feeling of joy seeing that last team fight end and seeing them go for Titan and seeing the 200 damage more that Jing Chen had over the Persephone there to keep him reigning supreme in that game. Sleet, what were your thoughts on all that?
I think I have to agree with you that Not Arceus has the understood the assignment. I think he even get extra credit for getting top damage and support.
That is definitely impressive. We did see that Mattie and the Baddies, though, weren't rollovers. They definitely played that kind of counter punch, counter initiation type of style with the Giannis through space and time, getting a lot of drop ships in the halfway through team fights, allowing them to re-engage and get a lot of picks and take advantage of some of the overextension that the Jing Chen or other members had during that game. But one thing I also wanted to point out was for Mattie and the Baddies, the Robin never got to really play the game. He ended that game 1 with 5,000 player damage. That is a third of what the Jing Chen did by himself in that game. And then that just seems like you can't have that happening. You have to have your jungler involved in some way during this game.
For sure, I agree. The jungler can't just end a game with 5,000 damage and you can expect for you to actually win that game.
But yeah, go ahead.
With the Robin pick, it seemed so hard for him to engage onto the backline because of their jumps. Whenever they would try and go on a Persephone, she'd just jump away. Whenever they go on her, they just jumps away. And then the Robin's just kind of left on an island.
Yeah, we definitely did see that really come into play during one of the duo side fights there, where Phoenix Sphinx was really, really low trying to get out of a fight. Robin comes in the back end, looks to Mystic Rush him, and Anher just jumps out of the way. He continues to try to chase. Anher just completely avoids all the damage possible. Sure, they still, Broken Immortal still loses their Camisots during that fight, and then Phoenix soon gets killed by the Cupid after overextending and staying a bit too long right afterwards. That really just does show what you were saying, where Robin was having a really hard time locking down any of his dive targets there. Maybe in game 2, they look to have more of a combination dive with the solo laner, as the Wukong was able to brawl pretty decently during that game 1.
I think they have to have a better jungle pick, honestly, with how much mobility that the Order side had. Robin just really wasn't the correct pick in that particular situation, and I feel like if they have a better pick for their jungler, that he'll have a much better performance next game.
I think that definitely could help. Besides maybe a different jungle pick, is there anything else you might be thinking that Mattie and the Baddies really has to change to try to counter the Broken Immortals play?
I think they have to be a little bit more on the front foot and not as much on the back foot. Especially with that dive comp, they really didn't want to be counter-initiating. They wanted to be the ones starting the fights. They wanted to be the ones getting into their backline, not having to deal with them in their backline.
And the moments they did play aggressive and kind of take that initiative during game 1, it seemed to go pretty well for them. So maybe if they just stick through that the entire game, maybe try to be more consistent with their aggression, that might help. But we're going to throw this to a break before we get into picks and bans of game number 2. And hopefully we can see Mattie and Baddies come back with a comeback in the second game.
Empiric wants to just end it now, sieging mid-Phoenix.
It looks like they're going to do a 5-man Chang'e, putting a stop to their siege. The Beats Aegis coming out from the Anher. Chang'e getting return hit by the crits, though. I think that ultimate single-handedly just saved the game for WK here, as she blinks in and re-engages once again, causing absolute havoc on the side of Empiric Gaming, staying alive, killing the Ganesh, getting a trade for her life before she finally falls to the Anher. She just 1v5 the entirety of Empiric Gaming and came off with. What do you think is here next?
Oh, a big Thana ult and a big Serb blink. Here we are, a big fight on the middle Phoenix.
As the Ganesh ult goes down, Ratatasker also going down the backside. Crits are coming in left, right, and center on her. Giannis both getting kills individually. WK making the engage, but not benefiting them whatsoever as Kukulin now falls. All that's left is Chang'e and Thanatos.
The question is, will he possibly be successful this time? A lot of damage onto Anher and Thana.
That was a big amount of damage from the Anher autos and the Giannis too onto Thanatos. Thanatos falling for that. Anher uses his beads to try to stay alive, but the Kukulin still managed to get the kill. Vampire Gaming steals the Fire Giant. I think Giannis is running behind it and stole it with a 2.
Wow.
And now it's all falling apart for WK as Heimdall has fallen to the Ratatasker now. The remnants of Red Team desperately trying to get something, scrounge some type of salvaging kill.
On the back end, Pilot went all in and unfortunately meets himself in front of 3 all alone. He gets taken out on this one. That's the team low. 2 are trying to back off, but 2 are going aggressive. Beezy takes that one. Kaizo immediately trades his life. Trying to get away from the Tiamat. I'm sorry, not going to happen, so a double kill will happen. And Batman now trying to get himself away, but this is a 6th level difference. He uses the slow from his ultimate, and he gets, no, not a triple, a quadra. Every kill this fight has gone his way. Just short of the Penta, as Papa will not let that happen.
To a ulted Fafnir. WK going back here, pulling the Pyro. What a huge tackle! WK will secure the Pyromancer, but a lot of damage is being put onto the Awilix. Sobek and Chaka getting focused in the backline here from WK. Fafnir trying to make some use of his ult before it goes down, but a huge Raijin ult in this corridor doing a lot of damage on the side of WK. Fafnir getting 2 to the wall by Anher. Looks like Fenrir might be able to get a kill on Jingwei in the back. RDO taking a lot of DPS in the Fire Giant pit here. Can anybody on the side of WK fall? They're all with 1 HP. Jingwei finally falls to Fenrir, and the Raijin will get the final hit on Fire Giant here, and here comes the dance.
The Frenzy was popped early to try to burn that off, but on her within execution threshold, uses the Beats Aegis to stay alive by the Thanatos. Thanatos getting impaled back. His impact on this fight completely moot now as he's running for his life. Guan Yu also at 1 HP. In the meantime, Kakulin running down the Ratatasker. And it seems as though Giannis has been sent, Ganesh has been sent through the Bifrost. On her now in the 1v1 with the Kakulin. Kakulin tanking those autos, managing to get the final blow on the on her in the midst of this fight. Ganesh also falls. This fight seems to have been going very well for WK. Can the Heimdall stays alive at 1 HP from that entire fight. Giannis running for his life. Ratatasker managing to stay alive. Very re-engage off the Thanatos ultimate. It's going to be very effective as Chang'e gets impaled to the side walls. On her jumps in looking for more aggression. Chang'e punishing him for stepping forward. However, the Giannis ult comes in, snipes to the Chang'e. Thana picking up on her on the backside. Now Vampire Gaming trying desperately to disengage in this fight.
Time into the Titan.
As they're starting to burn out Titan. Health falling very fast. The On going through. Titan's still only half HP. The crits are ringing true from the On her, however. Thanatos will fall from the On her. But Giannis getting the Chang'e. Kakulin returning the kill on the On her. Heimdall still alive and with barely an HP left. WK takes the set 2-1.
An absolute barn burner. Empiric wants to just end it now, sieging mid-Phoenix.
It looks like they're going to do a 5-man Chang'e, putting a stop to their siege. The Beats Aegis coming out from the on her. Chang'e getting returned, hit by the crits, though. I think that ultimate single-handedly just saved the game for WK here, as she blinks in and re-engages once again, causing absolute havoc on the side of Empire Gaming, staying alive, killing the Ganesh, getting a trade for her life before she finally falls to the on her. She just 1v5 the entirety of Empire Gaming and came off with. What do you think is here next?
Oh, a big Thana ult and a big Serb blink. Here we are, a big fight on the middle Phoenix.
As the Ganesh ult goes down, Ratatasker also going down the backside. Crits are coming in left, right, and center on her. Giannis both getting kills individually. WK making the engage, but not benefiting them whatsoever as Kakulin now falls. All that's left is Chang'e and Thanatos.
And welcome back for game number 2 of the AGL semifinal match for the Gladiators division. Mattie and the Baddies versus Broken Immortals. Broken Immortals took game number 1 off of Mattie and the Baddies, but it wasn't a one-sided game by any means. There was definitely a lot of times that Mattie and the Baddies were fighting or in the lead during this game. Sleet, what are you thinking that Broken Immortals might want to look to shape up a little bit better than they did during game 1 to really help them for this victory in game 2?
I think they might want to just switch out the style that they play. Instead of going for this dive comp, I think going front to back would do them a lot better with how they wanted to play. And it would help punish the Broken Immortals misplays a lot better than that dive comp would.
Yeah, and Broken Immortals with not Arceus playing out of his mind game number 1. Hopefully they might just ban the Xing Chen to keep him off of it game number 2 here. I wouldn't be surprised. That man was taking names and no prisoners during game number 1. But as we're getting into the actual picks bans, do you think that they'll ban out anything that was played last game, or do you think they're not really caring too much?
I don't think they can care too much about what was played last game, because if they try and ban out something that was played last game, they might risk giving them an even better pick in the meta. Like they might end up giving them a Tiamat or a Gilgamesh over the actual, like a Xingqian or something like that.
That is fair. And we do see the Kakulin being banned by Mattie and the Baddies, and Athena being banned again by Broken Immortals. You did say just now that they don't want to allow any more meta picks through, but they still allowed Persephone to get through for Broken Immortals during game 1. And even though she had 0% pen, she almost took top damage in the lobby. So that really just goes to show that Persephone, even without percent pen, does a lot of damage. So maybe they might look to even just get rid of that and maybe let something like the Tsukuyomi through potentially.
I think that it would be a really good idea to ban out that Persephone from the Broken Immortals team. Well, they're Tsukuyomi anyway, but But I don't think that you can give the Broken Immortals Persephone again with how well they played her.
Yeah, but to be fair, it is flipped now, so Broken Immortals are going to be second pick instead of first pick, so that might change some of the bans that we do see now. Broken Immortals banning Tiamat. That does change now with how many good meta picks there are currently. You kind of have to play your ban specifically, whether you're Order side or Chaos side.
For sure. With Broken Immortals being on the Chaos side now, they now have to ban out more of the meta picks, while Mattie and the Baddies can go for those targeted picks.
Yeah, being on the first pick side, you can kind of focus ban, try to trick Broken Immortals or whoever you're playing against on the second pick side to allow something to get through that you really want. As we see Gilgamesh being banned again by Mattie and Baddies. They don't want it. They don't want to play against it. They just want it out of here. He's too good for his own good.
Yeah, just get him out of here. We don't want to play against him. We don't want to play him. Let's just not put him in the game.
Fortunately, no Dropkick Kings of Uruk in this game, as we see Persephone being banned by Broken Immortals. They, again, played it last game, but they understand just how strong it was being on the actual piloting end of that during game number 1, so they don't want to allow Mattie and the Baddies to gain control over such a strong character. What are you really thinking might be picked first here for Mattie and the Baddies now that the options we know are available are out?
Well, there's a Raijin on the table, there's a Ymir on the table, there's a Sobek on the table. All three of those would be really good picks for Mattie and the Baddies to start off this draft.
Chiron also being available here, but we do see the Sobek being hovered, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't pick it unless they do want to go for another one of those top picks, as they do end up locking it in here. Sobek being a top pick, what are the strengths of having him at the top, and what are the weaknesses of taking him right away?
Well, Sobek has one of the biggest pick potentials in the game. He has the ability to take a character that is in position
Oh no.
and move them
Oh.
out of position. Oh no.
Oh no, it's hovered. Oh, it's the impending death. There's no Thanatos in this game, but I'm feeling it, the hovering death, and it's locked in. Oh, hopefully they have an answer, but Xing Chen is back in the game for Broken Immortals. I apologize for interrupting you there. It just, my heart started beating when I saw that man's lack of head looking at me.
Yeah, his lack of head did just get top damage last game, and I have a feeling that this one's not going to go too differently.
Oh man, and we see Hercules also being picked up for Broken Immortals here. Hercules, similar in the same vein as Kakolin with being a lane bully early game. He hits really hard with his passive, or especially in the early game. He has decent clear. He can keep himself high in HP. Who would you think that Mattie and the Baddies might lean towards to play against the Hercules here in the solo lane?
Well, one of the only things that beats Hercules Dash that I know of is the Sun Wukong Tiger Stun. It has the ability to beat Hercules Dash when put up against each other. And if Hercules does not have the damage from that dash, then he does not do much damage overall.
That is true, and they did already show that they wanted to play the Wukong from last game, so you see Discordia being hovered here. That was one of the early top bans that Broken Immortals had, so we guess that was probably some type of scouting report choice that they made, and if they do pick it, that's probably, that seems to be the case, that they are very comfortable in the Discordia pick, and they want to pick it up higher. Discordia, she's, again, we haven't seen so much play of her that we have a strong grasp on if she's really strong or really weak, but she's definitely never been bad, as we see Hu Yi also being hovered, so we might be getting some spicy bounces from Mattie and the Baddies in game number 2.
I agree that this might be really spicy, but on the other hand, I feel like this team cannot deal with a Xing Tian. Just being able to jump into their backline over the Suns, over the Discordia carpet, and Discordia can't really get away from a Xing Tian even with that jump.
Yeah, I mean, Hu Yi doesn't have a CC immune ultimate, so he can get grabbed up even while channeling his Sunbreaker ability, but Discordia might have a bit of an easier time, but yeah, like you said, there's no real way of distancing yourself from the Xing Chen well, or shredding him well, as Xing Chen has so many movement abilities that it's really hard to get away from him, as we see the trash panda himself, Danzaburo, being hovered by the Broken Immortals team here. Hui versus Danzaburo. That's not really a matchup I've seen too much of. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like Danzaburo has a very good matchup, especially with his 3. He has the ability to just walk out of Hugi's sons, and
Yeah.
he's just and even in Discordia, when she jumps, he can just throw his taunt onto the little Discordia, like where she lands, and then she just gets taunted off of that, and then just destroyed by the rest of the team.
I didn't really think about that. They are about the same size. Yeah, if you just throw it in the cloud, it either forces her out of her cloud or forces her to get taunted. So that's definitely would be an interesting play to see if the Danzborough actually thinks of that to do such a miraculous counterplay.
It'd be really hype if he did. That's all I gotta say.
We see Nemesis being banned again for Broken Immortals and Raijin being banned for Mattie and the Baddies. If you're Mattie and the Baddies, they played the Persephone on Broken Immortals last game. What are some of the mid laners you might be looking to ban out to keep a good matchup for your Discordia in the mid lane?
Well, they already have one with the Raijin, and I think that they should go with a Scylla here, and the Scylla would really help with the Xing Chen throw into a Scylla upgraded, max rank Scylla 1 to root everyone that he's grabbed into a Scylla 2 ult is literally just an insta kill onto any character in the game.
Yeah, that Solo Xing Chen combination is kind of scary. And Mattie and the Baddies are well aware of how terrifying that combination can be as they ban out the Scylla to round out their bans. Broken Immortals banning out the Sun Wukong. The Wukong had a really good performance, especially early game during game 1. Ended up getting almost 2 levels up against his Sicilian opponent there. At one point was 1v3ing and winning. So just kind of getting rid of that pick, forcing them maybe on something different or something they're uncomfortable on against the Hercules might be the play. See Ratatoskr being hovered.
Yeah, this Ratatoskr was actually also banned in game 1 against Broken Immortals. So this also might be just a really big pocket pick for the Broken Immortals team.
Yes, that does get locked in. Ratatoskr offers a lot, especially with the global rotation abilities and the stun and the protection shred, especially. It looks like we said they were going for full dive game 1. They didn't really stick to it as much as we thought they might have, except, of course, not Arceus to getting in there. But with the Ratatoskr and the Danzaburo and the Hercules, I'm seeing a lot more capability to just brawl and be inside of team fights and engage and be aggressive on it. Whereas Mattie and the Baddies, I'm not seeing a strong idea as to what they're really hoping to get from this team comp so far.
Yeah, it seems like Mattie and the Baddies have some sort of pick comp going on, but it's not also with the Hu Yi. It seems like they have 2 different ideas between the backline and the front line here. With that tier, especially, the tier wants to control a backline, and the Hu Yi just does not work well with the pick comp, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if you position him well, hold that thought, as Bakasur being hovered, he's not really been present at all recently, especially not in the current meta where, ability junglers are more of the norm. That allows you to get CC, but potentially be another frontline. But they are going to lock it, which goes back to our previous conversation of what's this team's identity? What are they aiming for here? Because Bakasur isn't the first thing in my mind when I think of a pick comp.
Yeah, Bakasur is probably the last thing I'd want to pick into this Broken Immortals comp. Between the Xing Chen, who reduces your damage by 50% on auto attacks, and the Danzaburo Rat, I don't think you're just able to dive this backline as a Bakasura and get away with it.
They might be potentially looking, since Bakasur ult is a giant cripple field, keeping the Xing Chen from being able to walk at them by placing that early on in the fight and maybe separating the rest of the team from being able to dive down. But we do see Morgan being hovered and now picked for Broken Immortals. Honestly, I will get your thoughts here, but I just want to throw my hat in the ring where I think that Broken Immortals has a much stronger team comp just based off of what the playstyle that they've shown they want to do was in game 1 and have seemed to really refine it to be even better here in game 2. But what are your thoughts on it?
I think the Broken Immortals with a double Ratatosker comp, I don't think you can beat that with the draft of Maddies and the Baddies. Because when you dive on the Discordia or the Hugi, they're forced to use their jump then you have a second one come down right on top of them, and that is enough to most likely kill whichever one you were looking at.
Well, hopefully we'll see if Broken Immortals can continue their push towards the finals here. If Mattie and the Baddies will struggle through and make this a 3-game set, but that will be determined here in game number 2. I'm going to throw it over to Supersonic Blur and Bray GG. Take it away.
Thank you very much. On the desk side of things, like they said, in this best of 3, this could very well be a 2-0 in favor of Broken Immortals. They built themselves quite the comp to be able to do that with, and by quite the comp, I mean they picked Jing Chen again.
Oh, yeah, and as we mentioned last game, that Jing Chen was top damage and was obviously just a problem. And Broken Immortals being able to run that back again, also going the same starter item as last game, not opting for that benevolence. Pretty interesting, but it seems to work out for them.
That is true. We never got really a chance to necessarily break down some of the builds that we saw, but it is Watcher's Gift on this Jing Chen, and with that passive extra HP 5, is this idea just to be this kind of unkillable monster that can put pressure out, or what's the goal here? But actually, hold that a sec, as we see Might here looking to be a little bit frisky here in the mid, looking for a level 1 rotation into the mid lane, has Blink, gets Pluck, and straight beads. Congratulations, you forced beads at 30 seconds. Now what?
Yeah, and this is a very different start for Mattie and the Baddies here, having the Sobek start out in the mid lane. Obviously, giving that pressure, pulling the beads away, but probably not what they wanted, and a kill in solo lane.
Alright, Ryzen, I see what you're doing there. You pick up the Hercules and decide that, hey, once again with this Warrior's Mask, or Fighter's Mask, I believe it is, and Fight is exactly what they're going to go ahead and do. Picking up First Blood onto a tier. That's a great look for the Broken Immortals.
Oh, yeah, and this Hercules is supposed to be putting that pressure on super early, being able to disposition whoever he wants, really, and that's just what happened there with this tier. And once again, that 40 physical power definitely had something to do with this. Something else I'd like to note, though, Rat has opted not to go with a starter, or he opted at first not to go with a starter item, but then sold it for this Eye of the Jungle here now.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, I was going to say, because you already bought the mace. At the very least, you just sort of go back and don't, you don't think about it. But Eye of the Jungle, again, both these junglers looking to go ahead and pick this up. I would have thought maybe Solar Shield goes for the Mannequin Scepter, but not going to do so. Instead, getting taunted and put in a bit of an awkward spot. Could not go ahead and secure those. And Bakasura here, with that sort of need to get to the late game and things, they're just going to power farm for a while and not expecting too many ganks here, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even when Bakasura hits level 5, I think the most important part of his ult is going to be that cripple, not necessarily the damage that he's able to off-put. So, I mean, we are going to have to see him farm, get that gold, get these items, and then late game is going to be that time for him to be able to shine, as we know.
Yeah. But then again, we also saw Maddie's and the Baddies comp. Last time was sort of this late-to-game orientated comp, but they never really got the chance to get here. Is that a concern with what Broken Immortals have drafted here?
I think that you absolutely have to put some concern, especially with the Don Zaburo, which I think is a pretty early game hunter right now, is going to be able to apply some pressure. Jing Chen as well alongside him, and the Rat, Hercules, a lot of early game characters that are definitely going to push them to have that advantage.
And even heading towards the late game with the Morrigan, giving them some great options here, but we'll talk about the late game when we get there. For now, we're still in that early stage, and it does look like Narcissus is taking a little bit of a beating right now. Eats the golden apple of Discordia and the unruly magic, but will not be able to survive for much longer than that. Snack Burrito goes ahead and picks up the first kill for Mattie and the Baddies, which unfortunately, because Pharaoh got soloed, is not going to be first blood.
Yeah, and just unfortunate timing there for the Jing Chen. Discordia hitting level 5, and then they just instantly ran over there into the duo lane, kind of similar like they did in game 1, and they secured themselves a kill onto the support. And hey, that's definitely going to help combat with the loss in solo.
Certainly will, but even so, it's still Gigafoot who finds themselves up about half a level here, and Broken Immortals in whole find themselves up 700 gold. Now 200 of that you can argue is just in the solo lane, but still 200 gold up from essentially nothing. Like, that's a worrying sign for me if you've got gods who are just designed to power farm and you're behind.
Yeah, especially being behind so early. Obviously, you're not going to want any of this snowball to occur at all. Luckily, right now, I'd say for Mattie and the Baddies, it hasn't been too eventful on the kill side. Just 2 kills so far in these first 5 minutes.
As you do see here in the solo lane, still a little battering backwards and forwards for now. Pharaoh just trying to clear the wave and stay safe, but Ryzen with full boots, opting for the tanky boots here. And into this comp, I absolutely love it. Right now, you don't need to worry about doing damage. That's what Fighter's Mask is for. The rest is just tankiness. As mid, Snack Burrito gets caught out, will eat the Whirlwind of Rage and steal damage, as there's a second one coming on through. This washing machine's going for a double dip right now. One of the 2 Jing Gen picks up another kill. As again, the carrier, not Arceus, is roaming, tagging, and bagging bodies.
Yeah, and I mean, what a great use of the Jing Chen Whirlwind there. Just being able to pull the beads the first time and then, secure the damage there. And with the blue boots on Jing Chen, once again, hey, I'm loving the amount of damage he's being able to put out on these backliners.
It's going to be a really, really nice look for them, as again this sprint being picked up here. We saw it last game, and we were wondering whether the sprint is necessarily the best option, as a little bit of a scuffle going the way. Actually might end up picking up both the Oracles, but has got 2 members nearby that they have to deal with, so will end up disengaging. And just back on the thought, what's the reason for this sprint pickup here?
Well, I think realistically on the side of Broken Immortals, it kind of looks like their team comp just wants to look to push in as all 5 members and just W key and be able to catch up to the team either that's splitting up or that's retreating, that being the Mattie and the Baddies, and that sprint is definitely going to be able to help in a situation like that.
Hopefully it will do so. Blink also going to be something we might end up seeing. I believe it was a shell we saw last game, which even after its nerfs we may end up seeing here is, alright, we're going to see a little bit more of an engage here. We actually see Phoenix dive on in, finds themselves in a 3v1, but Gigafoot picks up Snack Burrito in the mid. Flux ends up making the rotation, meaning it trades out 1 for 1. Might picks up Phoenix finally, so it trades 2 for 1, but Flux gets up into the tree of Yggdrasil, and so we'll be able to get back to safety. Mattie and the Baddies start off an engagement and still end up coming out worse for wear for it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it seemed at first that could have been just an ADC to ADC trade, but Gigafoot Zero going to be able to secure that kill in the mid lane onto that Discordia. So Broken Immortals now being able to sort of get their lead a little bit farther ahead.
And that's going to be really nice. 8 minutes on in here. We see about a 2,000 gold lead in favor of Broken Immortals, just shy by just over 200 gold, which is pretty good. as all things considered. Mattie and the Baddies, though, they're trying at the very least to find somewhere to be able to go and get themselves some kind of steam back in, but is it just the duo lane that they've got to find that footholders? We're going to have to see if the second time is going to be the charm. Phoenix is here, but we'll use that Tanuki trickery to bamboozle their way back. Though Might is not undeterred as of yet, but we'll have to disengage as mid lane, the Changeling comes on out, goes into Flux's form, he goes for a bombs the way, ends up missing his Snake Burrito throughout the strife at the end. Flux has to come in and pick it up themselves, cleaning out both the mid laners there. Gigafoot, you have 3 chances on the branch. You don't have to just immediately dive back in.
Yeah, super unfortunate that Flux got caught there, or Gigafoot, I'm sorry, got caught there by the 2 of Discordia after the landing. But his team was there very, very quickly to be able to clean it up for him. And Broken Immortals didn't necessarily lose as much on that trade as they could have.
They certainly didn't, but now we're going to see another look at the spin cycle coming on through. Might ends up throwing out the Lurking in the Waters as well. Gets a nice slow and a good pluck back on in. The Bakasura comes in with the ultimate, but hits the Uproarious Rocket. No, the Uproarious Rocket doesn't quite have the range on it to find the stun follow-up there. So unfortunately, no potential turnaround kill. So Mattie and the Baddies, it just feels like a lot of rutting heads right now. Gigafoot, though, with how long this fight's been going on, makes their rotation in under the confusion, finds a good stun on in. Blink Pluck forces them to disengage. Now Flux gets it, but Gigafoot, with the Dark Omen, secures the kill with the extra burst damage inside Falls. Double kill now for Gigafoot. More members very low on the sides of Mattie and the Baddies. Solar Shield not able to be there. Pharaoh has made an early rotation, which I actually like to see here, but unfortunately it's just too little too late. Scorpion on the Gold Fury side going to Broken Immortals.
And it looks like Morrigan forced to use the beads there after a little bit of a fight with Tyr there over at that Scorpion. But right now, after that double kill over there in the duo lane, I mean, you got to think that Spear of Desolation, that cooldown that Morrigan is just easily able to reset after one kill. This is going to start to be a recurring issue if Morrigan's allowed to freely rotate like this.
I definitely agree on that. The other thing as well that I like is just their variety that they've opted for. Usually when you think of Morrigan's and the ultimate, you just go, what's the best jungler of the two? And then you just dive in on that. But no, they've been looking and saying, what's the best for the situation? Twice we've seen them go into Xing Chen, once into Flux to try and give themselves a little bit more safety. I really like that. But the other reason I like the Xing Chen pick is Furious Roar reduces basic attack damage by 50%. What does Bakasura want to do in the middle of a team fight? Throw out as many basic attacks as they can. If you do it twice, I believe it's additive, not multiplicative. So it's 100% reduction. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's even crazier to think that this Bakasura was actually their last pick. This was a pick that went into the Xing Chen. And a pluck here from the Sobek. A lot of damage onto the mid. Morgan going to be able to secure that kill there. The Morgan ult going to turn her into Xing Chen.
As we see here, mid, still that fight is spilling on. Flux picks up Solar Shield. I'm not sure Might will be quite able to survive this one against these 3 under tower. Off the mark with the stun, but Gigafoot still goes ahead and picks that up. 4 members end up falling. As we saw Phoenix in the over in the duo lane take on a solo kill of Endside. That's a good look for the rest of Broken Immortals. And with Gold Fury spawning, no one to contest. That's easy pickings for them. And a mid tier 1 tower just to sweeten the deal.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about before. We do not want to see this Morgan rotating. But with that rat there, I think that they're going to be able to take that for free because of that great team fight.
Just about free there, but even so, just being able to take that down is pretty good. Those 3 health bars too low to really try and have any way of sticking on it, but Mattie and the Baddies, like we saw, 4 members were dead, and Ryzen at this point only has to keep Pharaoh busy without to make sure that the team gets that. So great work. As now we see a 5,500 gold lead, and things are getting scarily difficult for Mattie and the Baddies to come back in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this kind of seems like the biggest lead that they've had in the entire set so far. They're able to just run Mattie and the Baddies jungle. They're able to invade these red buffs on cooldown almost. The Fury obviously went their way, and both of their side lanes are winning very, very well.
I'm sorry, did you just see that damage from Gigafoot right there? 3 members taking huge damage. Flux slightly off the mark on the dive in, but now we're going to see a second one come on in. Never mind, it wasn't Flux who was off the mark. It was Gigafoot coming on, making a rotation, ending up showing up big for the team. And like we see, Gigafoot playing this as utility, not just damage, for being able to make the rotations. Now we're looking at what Phoenix is going to do. They go in for the uproarious rocket to go ahead and chase down, but they're going to find Discordia, who gets deleted immediately. Double kill, taking down Insight as well. Too little, too late on the side of Mattie and the Baddies. I love the attempt at a play there, but it just doesn't work out. Now Pluck back on in, ends up fighting into the back of Sora. Gigafoot, though, gets a rampage. Phoenix will end up falling, but she'll rise again shortly soon. But they got 3 members for 1 at this point. That's a fantastic look, and it may very well be 4 here. Never mind, makes it out, but there's no tier 1 tower. So right now it's just buying as much time as they can and giving Gigafoot their 7th kill here.
And what an unbelievable performance so far by this Morgan. But behind is this tier.
Okay, we just didn't see the tier. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, beautiful. Love that idea. Just get Gigafoot to safety. Lawbringer's going to have to be used to expend it. Make sure that they can't blink. I love this supportive play here from Arceus. Didn't quite go as expected. Would have thought they'd have looked at the minimap maybe more than once to see the tier behind them. But hey, you know, it's not throwing. It's just making the game interesting.
And that's a very interesting way to put that. But
I mean,
once again,
backing. He knew he was there. He had to.
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree with you there. Morgan, though, is the person that you want to ult to be able to save, get the Morgan out of there. Speaking of these transformations that she's been able to make so far, I mean, that makes the difference between a great Morgan player and a good Morgan player. Is just that difference of knowing who exactly to use with your ult. And clearly right here, this is some great Morgan gameplay.
Yeah, a lot of the times we usually see it's just sort of we double up on a combo for something. Think Humbats or Circuit, a la Pretty Prime and Captain Twig combinations. But this has been a lot more using it for that utility. As we are going to see here the Uproarious Rocket being used. Actually going to turn it around, going straight on back in because they had support. Gets the beat, still gets the kill. Phoenix ends up coming up big. I love the fact that they're turning this around. Now we're going to see the change up here. Going in, Whirlwind of Rage and Steel picks them up, throws them back out of safety. Unstoppable for Gigafoot. 0 here. 0 lives remaining wherever they end up showing up. Mattie and the Baddies now being corralled under their tier 2 tower, which isn't even safe. Double stun coming on through. Double kill coming for Gigafoot. There is a Sunbreaker coming on down, and it may end up getting them a kill. They will shut down Gigafoot in the end, but they lose their tier 2 tower. They've lost 3 members, and they're still losing pressure here as Broken Immortals fall back. They get chased on out. They should still be safe here.
Yeah, Mattie and the Baddies just kind of kept on fighting there when it really felt like that they shouldn't have. Obviously, they were able to pick up the Morgan there off of it, but Broken Immortals gonna pick up a T2, gonna pick up those 3 kills and a Pyromancer, and I can't imagine that they're not looking around either the Fury or the Fire Giant soon.
Well, they've already taken down the Pyromancer. I'm looking at this Fire Giant and going, it's looking like a pretty tasty snack right about now, and Broken Immortals are certainly hungry for something to satiate this, and a win would be absolutely perfect. And what better an appetizer for a win than a Fire Giant?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Fire Giant, even though at the spot that we're at right now, it wouldn't be the most impactful, as we see that Fury getting taken fairly easily by Broken Immortals.
You know, that's a light salad right there. I mean, it's Primal Fury. I'm thinking lots of jungle. I'm thinking like maybe some exotic fruit, some kind of like a fruit salad. Can you tell I'm hungry at this point? As I'm thinking, I wonder if Fire Giant is like. Do you reckon that they're like a curry, like a nice hot curry, maybe spicy?
I would definitely have to say that you're adding some sort of extra spicy flavoring on top of it for sure. When you're looking at the Fire Giant, I mean, those knockups, the burns, there's a good amount there for sure.
That's what I mean. That's what you want your curry to do. You want that kind of punch. You want it to burn. You want it to you want to remember that you've had it. I really want a curry right now. Either way, Broken Immortals have gone and got themselves that Primal Fury, which is going to help them go ahead and take this Fury. They do, however, want to go ahead and try and get some kind of advantage, and it looks like they're going to go ahead and just delete Pharaoh's health bar in a matter of seconds here. Looking now by as much time as they can, but it's not going to matter. Gigafoot erases what's left of Pharaoh there, and they will go back to base. 30 seconds remain or so for the rest of Mattie and the Baddies to try and defend here. Broken Immortals, though, are straight on the Fire Giant. They have their eyes on the prize. Rotation in. Gigafoot again finds a pick. Both rats are up. Both rats are looking to dive on in. This is a full dive right now. Subs all the way. Flex is on a rampage. 2 members remaining for Mattie and the Baddies. Scratch that. Make it 1. Who needs the Fire Giant? They could very well just go ahead and end here. They are going to go ahead and backdoor this mid tier 2. Whether or not, though, they'll go any further, it looks like instead they want to just go and play absolutely safe, secure their victory, and get this Fire Giant.
Oh, yeah, and during that entire engagement, Bakasura was actually there split pushing on the left side and just not able to be there for the team there. And like you said, yeah, that's a 5-level jungle difference right now. That's something pretty spicy. Speaking of spicy, here's a blink.
You can't be serious! Mattie and the Baddies steal away Fire Giant! Pharaoh goes in! Solar Shield goes in! I don't know if either of them are going to be able to come out of this one, but stealing away the Fire Giant again is absolutely phenomenal work! Flux is taking a 1v1, ends up winning it out, but still gets shut down here. Might the only one with Fire Giant, but there are 4 members of Broken Immortals who do not have it.
Honestly, last game, this seemed like we were watching a pretty good Conquest game, but did we queue for Arena in this one? Because, I mean, there's just kills going on left and right, and this is an absolutely crazy game so far.
How do you let them get Fire Giant a second time? I mean, Pharaoh goes in with the Lawbringer, and then I think it was Solar Shield who manages to catch it with the Regurgitate basic attacks. I don't even know at that point. I wish it's one of those times I wish we had that little SPL graphic so we could see it. But either way, fantastic work from Mattie and the Baddies. And while it doesn't necessarily stop the bleeding, it stops them bleeding out more. So that's still a win.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, having that Fire Giant on the side of Broken Immortals, that is just going to give so much help. Knocking off those backdoor protections on the Phoenixes that they're looking to siege very, very soon, and having it on the side of Mattie and the Baddies, it's definitely going to help, but we have to see how much help it's going to give them. Maybe not enough with this lead.
Oh no, there's a Soul Gem proc coming through. 2/3 of the health bar of Inside is gone. But unfortunately, no Polynomicon. So Gigafoot is not going to be able to take it down, but it's a TKO, meaning that more members from Broken Immortals are going to go ahead and start corralling more towards this left-hand side. The Bakasura is low. The Bakasura is alone, getting sundered, throws out the ultimate, getting stunned, CC'd, and put down in the ground. Any other members who follow up will also face the same fate as Gigafoot Zero. Another kill, 12, 2, and 8, racking up the damage and racking up the scoreline. For now, it's just Mattie and the Baddies falling left, right, and center. This left-hand side Phoenix not taking a lot of focus. Flux picks up Pharaoh around the backside. And look at this, Flux is still behind enemy lines, pulling more and more of their attention, meaning that Phoenix just gets a free cast on the Phoenix, and it's free for them.
Yeah, I mean, Flux just chilling in the back line of Mattie and the Baddies. They're gonna go for it.
They're just gonna try and end up here. Might's the only one left alive to try and make a defense. Solar Shield is up in 6, but their health bar is evaporating quicker than the timer is counting down. Only 10% left on the Titan. Bakasura goes on in, but the focus is there from Broken Immortals. They take the set 2-0 and move on.
Yeah, on that Phoenix engagement there on the left side, both of the Ratataskers were just able to dive. Flux especially able to get in onto that back line. And I mean, Mattie and the Baddies just split apart, allowed for Broken Immortals to take that game and take the set overall.
And I gotta think that it's due to partly, in fact, that not only did they pick up the Jing Chen, they then picked up the Morrigan to give him a second Jing Chen. Like, can you not believe that we didn't see this coming? Like, 2 Jing Chens? If one won the game last time, 2 makes it even easier. As you can see here, just Gigafoot Zero, I think, is the main talking point. 12, 2, and 8, nearly 20,000 player damage. Wherever they showed up, carnage ensued.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, the red buff engagements, even the rotations onto the duo lane, wherever that this Morgan was showing up, the Jing Chen was right there, and they were going to cause some huge, huge havoc. But hey, big win for Broken Immortals, and they're going to the finals next week.
And I really look forward to seeing this team in the finals. If you're going up as their opponents right now, is there anything that you could take away from this game that you might look as something you can exploit?
Look, and you gotta look at something with this Jing Chen. Absolutely. I mean, just the fact that they're able to run it both of these games and how successful that it was in game 1. Maybe not have had that same exact shine, but he was there and he was going to be able to do a lot as this frontliner on the side of Broken Immortal. So that would be my take.
Alright, so the Jing Chen painted a little bit of a target on the back for the side of Broken Immortals. Commiserations are in order, though, for Mattie and the Baddies. But congratulations to the Broken Immortals taking this set 2-0. And to take us home to bring this all out, we got the death segment to break down the victory.
You Bray GG, and I would go so far as to argue that that game probably could have ended maybe even 5 minutes earlier than it did. They spent a lot of time brawling in the jungle. I think a good 30% of that game was spent in the Mattie and the Baddies red buff jungle area, just brawling with whoever dared to approach them. Flux and Gigafoot completely blew it out of the water for me this game.
For sure, I agree. Especially in those team fights when they did the double rattle, the backline of Mattie and the Baddies just could not get away from all of the dive that was coming on top of their heads.
No, they definitely couldn't. And we had some concerns about how Mattie and the Baddies with their team comp would potentially react or be able to play into the intense dive that the Immortals were going to be bringing. And they didn't really show any ability to deal with it. They didn't have any escapes even from the single Jing Chen, much less the double Jing Chen ults coming through early game. It gets an early pick on the Discordia. and just kind of went downhill from there. I will say that Broken Immortals did have some slip ups, though. They were a bit too aggressive at times and spent a lot of time chasing around for that final kill just to get a deicide. And they allowed openings for Mattie and the Baddies to potentially come back as they stole another Fire Giant in that game. If you're Broken Immortals looking back on this set going into the finals, what's the best advice you can give them?
Well, in this game, you didn't have any pressure on your backline. Against maybe the number 1 seed, you might have a lot of pressure on your backline. So while Flux looked really while Arceus looks really good this game, he might have to be playing a different, like a more backline role against a different team.
To kind of make sure you have practice with not just the full dive comps, maybe get a little bit more of the team fight, counter engage type of comp practice. And I can definitely agree with that. But for right now, I mean, Mattie and the Baddies, they put up a valiant effort for being the bottom seed to make it into the playoffs. They got through the quarterfinal round, made it to semifinals. Game 2 was a bit more of a blow, but game 1, they put up a decent fight. So definitely, props to them for coming out and putting on a show for us. But Broken Immortals are going to be moving on to the finals. And that's not all the action we have here for AGL this weekend. We have more sets going on tomorrow as well. So please do come back in and tune in for that. But for now, I'm going to thank Sleet for joining me here on the desk, Bray GG and Blur for having an amazing cast today, and Ted for being our production today. But for the rest of you, thanks for coming out. Take care of each other. Have a good night.